Immunity from prosecution, 4-1. And payment equivalent to what I'm sacrificing by betraying my client. Hayes' expression hardened. You're in no position to make demands. On the contrary, Lyra countered smoothly. I'm in exactly the position to make demands. You need me to identify Dakan and the other extractors. I need guarantees that helping you won't end with me in a detention cell or assassinated by my former employers. After a tense silence, Hayes nodded reluctantly. I can arrange conditional immunity through diplomatic channels. Payment is more complicated. I'm sure Earth's intelligence services have discretionary funds for valuable informants, Lyra suggested. A reluctant smile tugged at Hayes' lips. You're remarkably composed for someone who's been caught committing interstellar crimes. Professional hazard, Lyra replied with a casual shrug. Panic is rarely productive. Hayes checked his communication device, frowning at the display. My absence has been noted. I need to report in before a formal search is initiated. What will you tell them? Enough truth to be believable, he answered, moving toward the door. That I encountered an Azurian cultural liaison with valuable information about a potential threat to human interests. And the extraction? Hayes paused, his expression unreadable. Some details are better left unreported until we know more. As he prepared to leave, Lyra felt compelled to ask the question that had been nagging at her. Why trust me at all? I drugged you, extracted biological material without consent, and was planning to deliver it to someone potentially developing weapons against your species. Hayes turned back, his gray eyes meeting hers with surprising intensity. Because you had the opportunity to kill me when I confronted you, and you didn't. That suggests you have limits. I'm betting those limits include mass genocide. That's not much to base trust on, Lyra observed. True, Hayes agreed with a grim smile. Which is why I'll be watching you very carefully. Meet me at the secondary promenade entrance to the reception hall in 90 minutes. And Naveen? Yes. If you attempt to contact Dakan or deliver that sample, our deal is void. I'll have station security in your quarters before you can blink. After Hayes departed, Lyra sat motionless, considering her options. She could still deliver the sample and collect payment, assuming she could recover it from wherever Hayes had hidden it. Her professional reputation would remain intact, and she'd be significantly wealthier. But Hayes' words had struck a nerve. Lyra had always considered herself a professional, not a criminal. She stole information, recovered rare items, occasionally acquired biological samples, but she'd never been complicit in developing weapons of mass destruction. With a sigh, she moved to her secure storage compartment and retrieved her backup extraction device. If she was going to risk her career by working with Hayes, she needed insurance. She needed to know exactly what Dakan was planning before she decided where her loyalties lay. As she prepared for the reception, a priority message appeared on her communication panel. The sender was unfamiliar, but the content was chilling. Extraction phase complete. Deployment phase initiating in 6 hours. All specialists terminate subjects after delivery to eliminate witnesses. Maximum discretion required. Lyra stared at the message, the implications clear. Dakan hadn't just hired her to extract a sample, he expected her to kill Hayes afterward. And based on the message, the other extractors had similar instructions for their targets. Whatever Dakan was planning would happen soon, and multiple human lives were in immediate danger. Including, she realized with unexpected concern, Commander Jackson Hayes. Her decision made, Lyra activated her emergency communication protocol, a channel used only in the most extreme circumstances. The face that appeared in the holographic display was familiar, Torrin Valdez, her former partner in both professional and personal matters. Lyra, he greeted, surprise evident in his expression. The emergency channel? This must be serious. Torrin, I need everything you can find on the Genesis Initiative and Dakan Morval. Priority 1. Torin's expression shifted to concern. Lyra, stay away from anything connected to Genesis. It's bad business. I'm already involved, she replied grimly. Just get me the information. Lives depend on it. As the transmission ended, Lyra checked the time. 1 hour until she was due to meet Hayes. 1 hour to decide how much to tell him about the assassination order. 1 hour to prepare for a confrontation that could cost her everything. She only hoped it would be enough time to prevent whatever Dakan had set in motion. The grand reception hall of Stellar Station 9 glittered with the elite of a dozen species. Diplomats, merchants, and officials mingled beneath floating light sculptures that cast prismatic patterns across the gathered dignitaries. Lyra adjusted the perception filter at her throat, feeling the subtle vibration as it activated. Remember, Hayes murmured beside her, his formal Earth diplomatic uniform immaculate, maintain visual contact with me at all times. These filters work best when people aren't looking directly at you, but they're not infallible. Lyra resisted the urge to touch her face. The sensation of the filter working was disconcerting, like a constant, gentle pressure against her skin. I've used more sophisticated camouflage technology on previous assignments. I'm sure you have, Hayes replied dryly. But this is what we have available without accessing my official requisition channels, which would raise questions I'd rather avoid for now. They moved through the reception, Lyra maintaining the professional poise of her cultural liaison cover while scanning the room for signs of Dakan or the other extractors. Anything? Hayes asked, accepting a drink from a passing server drone while keeping his eyes moving across the gathered crowd. Not yet, Lyra replied. Though if they're using perception filters like mine. They won't be, Hayes said confidently. Those are proprietary Earth technology, not available on the open market. Lyra raised an eyebrow. You'd be surprised what's available if you know the right people and have sufficient credits. Before Hayes could respond, his communication device vibrated. He checked it discreetly, his expression tightening. 2 more members of my team have gone missing in the last hour. Lieutenant Rivera and Specialist John. More extractions, Lyra concluded. We need to find them before. She stopped mid-sentence as a familiar figure entered the reception hall. Dakan Morval moved with the measured confidence of someone accustomed to deference, his ornate formal robes marking him as a high-ranking Kelvari official. He was accompanied by 2 other Kelvari and, Lyra noted with surprise, a tall, willowy Medusan with characteristic silver-threaded hair. That's him, she whispered to Hayes. Dakan Morval. And the Medusan beside him is Sivera Kos, another extraction specialist. Her presence here confirms this is more than coincidental. Hayes observed them with a security officer's calculating gaze. Can you get closer? I need to hear what they're discussing. If I approach directly, perception filter or not, Dakan will recognize me, Lyra cautioned. But there's another way. She slipped a small device from her concealed wrist compartment, a directional audio enhancer disguised as a decorative bracelet. This will amplify their conversation if I can get within 5 meters. Follow my lead, but maintain distance. With practiced ease, Lyra navigated through the crowd, positioning herself near a refreshment station where Dakan and his associates had gathered. Hayes remained further back, appearing to engage in casual conversation with a Centaurian diplomat while keeping Lyra in his peripheral vision. Timeline has been accelerated, Dakan was saying, his voice now clearly audible through Lyra's enhancer. The humans are growing suspicious. 2 of their security personnel have initiated inquiries about the missing officers. The final extractions are underway, Sivera replied, her melodic Medusan voice carrying a note of concern. Jorith is completing his assignment as we speak. And your sample? Dakan asked. Secured and delivered to the laboratory, Sivera confirmed. though I was forced to terminate the subject earlier than planned. He became difficult. Lyra felt a chill run through her at the casual way Sivra mentioned killing her target. The Medusan's reputation as an efficient eliminator was well earned, it seemed. Regrettable but necessary, Dakan nodded. The project director confirms the synthesizing process is nearly complete. Once the final samples are integrated, production can begin immediately. And distribution? One of the other Kelvari asked. The terraforming conference provides the perfect cover, Dakan replied. Representatives from every human colony will be present. The agent will be introduced through the environmental control systems, odorless, colorless, and completely undetectable until it's too late. By the time they realize what's happening, Sivra added with cool satisfaction, human reproductive capabilities will be permanently compromised across their entire colonial network. Lyra had heard enough. She retreated carefully, making her way back to Hayes with practiced nonchalance. Once they were safely distant from Dakan's group, she relayed what she'd heard. They're planning to release a sterilization agent, she concluded, keeping her voice low. During the terraforming conference tomorrow. And Sivra has already killed her target. Hayes' expression had grown increasingly grim as she spoke. Lieutenant Rivera, he said quietly. She was assigned to conference security preparations. I'm sorry, Lyra offered, surprised to find she meant it. We need to find their laboratory, Hayes decided, his grief quickly channeled into purposeful anger. That's where they're synthesizing this agent. And Specialist John. We should try to locate him before. Too late, Hayes interrupted, his gaze fixed on a point across the reception hall. Lyra followed his line of sight to see a Tauran extraction specialist she recognized, Jorith Mavic, entering the reception with a satisfied expression that told her everything she needed to know. We can't save them, Hayes said, his voice tight with controlled rage.